Everyone knew Long Beach was going to be a difficult one going in, but Travis Brown and John Momeyer probably didn't expect quite the level of difficulty they wound up facing. Both will need to reset and get their title fights back in order today at Mid-Ohio. Can they rebound? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 19 of the Porsche Owners Club Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is a circuit with a history going all the way back to the 60s. To find out more about it, why don't we head to our track guide? Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Located halfway between Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio, this track has become a road racing staple in the Midwest. Despite its name, one of the biggest events of the year here is usually the visit from IndyCar. The full 2¼ mile version is what is most frequently used, but it also includes a chicane layout and a short course. While each one officially has 13 turns, they do have distinct differences. The chicane layout was the only version for the first part of its history, in which the keyhole included a bus stop style back and forth jink on its entry. The short course simply bypasses the whole keyhole section altogether. The various turns have some rather famous names, such as China Beach with its downhill braking, inviting you into its eponymous sand trap, or Madness, which is a single file set of S's with drastic elevation change. There's also the Carousel, and this more than 180-degree turn offers a variety of lines that can be taken. Perhaps the most unique feature of the track is that in the real world, starts are rarely taken on the pit straight. Instead, the green flag is given along the backstretch where an extra flag stand sits. Naturally, sports car racing is the main staple of the venue, but motorcycles have a long history here, and in more recent times, NASCAR has started to hold races at the track. It also hosts driving schools and days for amateur racers to get on the circuit. The Buckeye State is often more closely associated with dirt track ovals, but the amount of history and prestige in Mid-Ohio's events make it just as worthy of notoriety in the region. Well, DJ, you might have Indianapolis, which will always be special to you, but for me, it's Mid-Ohio. It's my home course.
And it is a great course, Joe. This has been a staple in in American racing for years and years, dating all the way back to 1962. And the layout here is one that challenges drivers in many, many ways. It's a little bit like a roller coaster around here, specifically when you're firing all the way down through China Beach and the S's, and obviously the fantastic run down to Thunder Alley. However, that doesn't mean that there's not a whole lot of areas to overtake. It is going to be at a bit of a premium. The two best spots you can get it done, well, if you're lucky, you can get it going down into the keyhole at turn 2, and then you may be able to get one going down into China Beach as well. But outside of that, it's a real test of driver control. And in all of these cars, drivers are going to have to be especially careful coming through the S's around turn 6 and 7, as the elevation change tends to like to unsettle the cars. And then the treacherous turn 9. If you get on the power too early, it is a one-way ticket to get those rear tires spinning and to find yourself right into the wall.
Certainly don't want to spin anything here in these Porsches, as they're going to go around pretty easily. But speaking of them, let's go through our sponsors, which includes Porsche, because there is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. As well as Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. So the championship is starting to come down to the end of it. We're getting towards the tail end of the season, and the GT1s are still being led by Travis Brown. But Corey Lotvilla started to chip away last time with a better finish in California. Michael Johnson, as well, has been trying to get in the hunt. He's gotten up to third with Bayan Salehi not far back, and then BJ Fulton there in fifth. And this is with the drop points taken into account. They get 4 drop weeks this season. And then there's the GT2 points, DJ.
Well, in those GT2 points, Jerry Freckleton continues to hold out to his stranglehold on the top of the field. John Momeyer trying to close in the best he can, but with the weeks fading down, those chances are starting to go away. Mark Rondeau, fair enough back of Momeyer as well, that he's probably not going to be looking at much better than P3, but we do have a battle for that third place position with Aaron Edwards only 9 points back of Rondeau, and Adam Fulton an outside chance to close in there as well, only 14 points back of Aaron Edwards.
And for today's race details, as I said, look at this. All the way up to round 19 out of the 24 over the course of this entire year we've been covering this thing. There's the same two classes we've been seeing for most of the time. And for the majority of the races, it's this 30-minute sprint race format. It is an open setup series, so the drivers can try to find some speed that way. We'll see who's got that speed out there at a very technical track here in Ohio. Travis Brown does look quick today, but he's only got 700ths over Salehi. It's a little bit farther apart down in the GT4 as Jad Duncan's got a full half second over Rondeau.
Yeah, he really does. And we've seen some great qualifying out of Jad over the past couple of times. So massive kudos there to him keeping that up as you see Travis Brown coming around the S's. Now, this is that tricky turn 9 that I talked about, Joe. Got to be very, very careful putting the power down as you crest over that hill there. It will want to unsettle the car.
Yeah, Brown's looking like he's about half a second up on his best time right now, so he might be able to find a little bit more comfort as we ride on board out of the carousel. Big bobble coming off the corner, but it's not faster. 17.8 that time by. Interestingly, his first lap was his quickest one.
I do find that a little bit surprising, especially considering we're dealing with 75-degree track temperature right now. So I would have expected for those tires to take a couple of laps to really get up to temp. Clearly, that's not the case. Is there Jad Duncan only 0.3 off of his best time, so he's running pretty consistently here and pretty consistently quick, but not able to get up to that fast time yet.
Yep, so Jad still leading the way. Freckleton struggling today. Remember, our championship leader who has failed to win since round 12. It's been a minute since we've seen Jerry top the steps. And he's going to start second to last if he doesn't improve his time.
Yeah, he hasn't exactly had the speed that we would expect him to have, especially in the early season results. However, I will say that he does have a great track record of really and truly just finishing races, watching out, staying clear of all of the chaos, and that's really more than anything what's propelled him up the championship standings.
That was Raban going by as he didn't want to be sitting behind him. Michael just actually ahead of him on the timing sheets as well. We look at BJ Fulton in the GT1 class and the 277, and now John Momeyer here who sits in third. Momeyer is the chaser there in that GT2 class, and he's got a huge hill to climb with more than, I think, 2 wins worth to try and catch up. He hasn't won since round 5. It's been even longer for him.
Yeah, and John has been the unfortunate benefactor of some very bad luck around here. Here comes Michael W. Johnson, though, on your screen right now. Michael, a very experienced driver out on the track that hasn't really been able to translate it as much as we would think to the sim world, but always quick, always one to watch out for as he is in that very distinctive purple liveried machine.
Yep, he's easy to spot out there on track. And Michael this time by, unfortunately, not going to have that one count. Not sure if that was an outlap or he just had an off somewhere. And Paul Newton was the one that he just went by. That's actually in the same class, so Paul just getting out of his way. This is going to be a slow one for Paul, no doubt, after that. The 9 able to get up onto the second row inside of that one, starting from third position all the way out to the curb there, coming off of the keyhole, using every inch of this thing. And we have to remember, Michael races in IMSA in the real world, so he's had plenty of time to get experience at tracks like this in the physical world. Cool.
Yeah, he had. And he'll know more than anybody, that's not the way to take through that section of China Beach. So we watch Michael Ost coming through here, currently in 4th right now. making his way out of that turn one. Now, in these 911 RSRs, they'll have to do just a hair bit of feathering coming through that first corner. So we've seen some of the open wheelers cars with a little bit more downforce can take that actually flat out.
Ost is still seeking his first win of this season. He's one of those drivers that in the GT1 class has not been able to top the podium steps. And we hop on board now with last round's winner, Mark Rondeau. The 171 on the outside of the front row here today right now. See if he can maybe make it back-to-back and deny Chad Duncan once we get to racing, but his pace in the qualifying certainly doesn't seem to implicate it currently. I love the onboards around here. This is a track that if you weren't used to elevation change, it'll make you used to it.
Very, very much so. You can almost get motion sick just riding on board with all of the ups and downs that come along through here. I've heard it compared a little bit to the way that that Zandvoort tends to flow a little bit in just sort of the rolling elevation change as it comes along, not necessarily the steep drops like you see at a place like Spa or Laguna Seca. So a very challenging course, and because of those little bumps in the road and those curves and crests, it's just very tricky to get right sometimes.
Not faster that time for Rondeau. Duncan's coming across the line now. He also has that lap deleted. Roban, well, driver's not able to get a clean one in here. Let's see if we can get anybody to be able to put one down without going off the circuit. This is Salehi that we watched through madness. Still 700s rather off of Travis Brown. Does not have to make up a lot, but has been unable to do it in the 8 minutes we've been watching him.
Well, and one of the things, Joe, is this is such a short course compared to what a lot of the other ones that we have gone to this season are, that those little minuscule mistakes can just absolutely cost you. And, oh, there he's going to come up behind. I believe that's Momeyer ahead of him. I'm going to imagine that's going to slow him up just enough to make this lap not attainable and indeed off by about a second.
So he's got to cycle back around and try again. Top three split by 0.118 of a second. Michael Johnson's not got much to try and get himself farther up. He's gotten back out on track. So he's going to try after he had his spectacular exit there at China Beach. Mark Rondeau, let's see what he's got. Is this one going to count for him? It will, but it was slow, off by about a second.
So Rondeau not able to get forward there. We've seen him and Duncan a couple of times lining up on that front row together, so we could have another battle of those two. Here comes Michael Ost making his way around. Let's see what he's got as he pilots his way down there. Corey Lockpilla not able to improve on his time. Bit surprising to see Corey as far down as he is.
Oh, and the 929, well, that's an interesting, I guess it was clear. Well, no, now he's not clear. I was going to say he's got a car coming. He had to let Travis Brown through. Got to watch those F3, boys. And Freckleton, the next one by. Freckleton not going to improve yet, still on that 27.9.
Yeah, I'm frankly very surprised at the fall off in pace that we've seen Jerry Freckleton have over the course of the season. But as I've said, one of the drivers that just knows how to avoid incidents, it seems like. Michael Ost not able to improve there either, so he's going to try to re-rack and go one more. This will probably be his last flying lap there, as we are under a minute to go here in qualifying.
Yes, indeed. And Salehi's not going to be our pole sitter in the GT1s because he has exited out. Johnson looks the most likely to try and topple Travis Brown, although Ost is only 0.2 back. It is possible. Rondeau on screen, 27.9. That's not going to do it. He'll get one last try at it as Corey Lotvilla comes through, and with his bad run last time, still can't get out of 6. What is going on with that 22 car?
I'm not entirely sure. BJ Fulton doing his best impression of a lawnmower there coming off through the carousel. Let's see if he's going to be able to get by in enough time. I think he will to get one more lap in. Travis Brown coming up behind. He got slowed by Fulton on that last lap, so he'll hope to get it going fast here. Michael W. Johnson crosses the line. He'll get one more in, and Freckleton here is going to be the first one to cross at the checker.
Can he go higher than fifth? He's been trying for quite some time, and no, it's not going to be, as Michael Ost is up next, sitting on the outside of the second row. Can that multicolored Porsche go faster? No. This has been a struggle for many of the drivers to try and chop down on those lap times. John Momeyer will be the next one.
Yeah, and Momeyer here really needs to capitalize with some of the bad running that Jerry Freckleton has had. So let's see if that red and yellow machine can do it. Comes out of the carousel. Not going to be faster there for Momeyer. Behind him, it's going to be Frederick Chin. Chin not able to do it as well. So our last driver out on track that can potentially set a fast time, I believe, is Michael W. Johnson.
He's looking like he's up on his time. I'm keeping an eye on that. We do have enough left that he could try and snatch this away at the dying stages. Could be moved into second, could be moved into pole. What is it going to be? He's still up on his time on my screen as he crosses the line. Has to be to 17.3 to improve, and he's not going to do it. That is it for today. Let's go through our starting order. It is Travis Brown on the pole with Brian Salehi starting from second. Michael Johnson will be P3 as Michael Ost will start from fourth. Then BJ Fulton in fifth, Corey Lockville in sixth, and Paul Newton rounding out your GT1 field.
In the pole position for that GT2 category, it'll be Jad Duncan, and his outside, it'll be Mark Rondeau with John Momeyer and Michael Robon lining up behind them. Jerry Freckleton lines up in P5, followed by Frederick Chin.
8 a.m. virtual start time here today. So it is a beautiful morning in the midst of Ohio. 21% humidity. I wish in Ohio, to be honest. That is very wishful thinking there. And 75 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface.
Yeah, so pretty cool conditions. That low humidity, as you said, not exactly indicative of what Ohio or the Midwest as a whole is known for. Relatively low wind speed as well, so these drivers aren't going to have to worry a lot of buffeting coming across the cars. I would say that they're going to have to be a little bit careful coming through turn one with the cooler track temps. The tires aren't going to be as grippy. They're going to have to be very, very careful backing off, and I think that's going to be the biggest area for concern here on this first lap.
Waiting for the last of the field to grid up here today. Just looking for Michael Ost to put himself on the grid, and then we're ready to go for 30 minutes of racing in round 19. You know, it's not just the score that the drivers need to worry about, it's their attendance. I believe they have to make, I think it's 16 of the 24 if they want to be considered for the championship. Now, obviously, all of our front runners have already qualified, but there is at least one in there, I think it was BJ Fulton, that still needs to complete the number of races so that he is counted officially. So as we take off behind the pace car, it's a short pace lap, and unlike real life, they are going to start on the pit straight instead of on the backstretch down through the kinks. So it might be a little bit more messy, especially if some of the drivers here are used to starting there in real life. There goes the pace car now ducking in as Travis Brown is given control of the field, and green flag is waved immediately. He actually got caught out a little bit as Salehi looks like he's got a good start around the outside. He's going to be able to pull nose to nose as they come into the corner. A little bit of door banging, and that puts him offline. Oh no, and that causes a tip as Johnson gets touched by the likes of Lockville, both of them going to the back of the field. What about the GT2s?
Well, the GT2s was a much more orderly start out there. Joe Jad Duncan just holding on. Mark Rondeau in behind him. John Momeyer in position. Jerry Freckleton was able to gain a spot over Michael Robon and move his way up to fourth place, but they are pretty well spread out as of right now.
Oh boy, what a start there. And Travis Brown did manage to hold the lead over Salehi. Fulton gets up to third and Newton into fourth. Here's the replay as we're looking for, I believe, Johnson on this start. It was an ambitious move. He saw an opportunity. Unfortunately, just started to go three wide, and it was way too close.
Yeah, just a little over eager. And again, talking about there's that door banging that you mentioned, Joe. Oh, Lotfula catching a little bit of that inside curving. I think that jumped him and prevented him from really stopping the car as much as he'd want to.
Well, the good news for Johnson is he didn't hit anything other than that little bit of a tap, so I don't think he's got any damage, but he's 6th in class and 11th overall with a whole bunch of cars in the slower class to try and overtake. As we come back live, it is Brown, Salehi, Fulton, your top three, all spread by about 1.2 seconds between the trio.
Yeah, so they're going to be trying to keep track of each other here as these tires start to warm up and get going around. It looked like there that Ryan Salehi got a little bit of a better run outside of the carousel. And I want to give some credit here to Paul Newton also keeping up to back of this train as well.
While this stays close, it's a similar story with the GT2s. Duncan, Rondeau, and Momeyer are up at the front there. Oh, Momeyer just had an off. So Momeyer, well, he doesn't lose a position, but he certainly loses a lot of time as he gets back on track out of the keyhole, 4 wheels in the dirt, coming out of turn 2.
Let's go back and check out the replay on this. There is Momeyer's machine. You can see him trying to catch up to the back of Rondeau right there. Goes into the keyhole. Doesn't get fully down to the apex. Looks like the car just understeers a little bit out of it. Yep, understeers right over the edge of that curb and sends him off into the grass. But Momeyer keeps his foot in it and keeps plowing right along.
This is Corey Lotfula getting back by Mark Rondeau. This is the tricky part. They're so much quicker than these GT2s through that portion as we come back now to Brian Salehi in the meantime. He's got himself within half a second. So we watch the revs there and see him come out of second gear up to third to fourth. GTE cars, I believe there's 6 gears in this thing, aren't there?
Yes, there are, Joe, and there you can see him ticking into 6th gear. He's got that just about tuned beautifully there, hitting what would be the rev limiter. Ooh, better onto the brakes in the first part of China Beach. Now coming over the hill down in through Madness. I think Salehi's got some speed in that car, and Travis Brown is going to have his hands full.
I was checking in on the pace of Michael Johnson to see if he's going to be able to charge through the fields. He is quicker than a couple of drivers, but he's certainly not going to get to the top spot unless they have some issues, as he looks to be slower than our front runners that we're watching right now here in the GT1 class. A little bit of an alternate line there from Salehi, coming in tighter. Not sure if he's trying to find some air for that wing or if he's just trying to show himself to the 300.
Not entirely sure there. I mean, you're not running through a whole lot of a downforce section there, so you don't really have to worry about it. A little bit squirrely there for Brian Salehi coming off of turn 1, but he was able to set the fastest lap on that previous lap. So he's clearly got some speed underneath the hood of that number 15 machine.
Continues to try and put the pressure on Travis Brown, our leader for the championship. Brian Salehi has missed quite a few races, and that's what's put him so far behind. It was him, not BJ Fulton, rather, I said earlier, that needed to complete the number of races to be considered an official contender for the championship. But the 15 is stuck in second place. He's been hanging within about this half second of Travis Brown for much of the race so far. Just hasn't really seen an opportunity to try to go on the attack.
No, he really hasn't, and he does have about 25 minutes left to go in this race, so definitely some time to do it. He may be waiting for some of that lap traffic to come up as well, as that should play into his hands.
We hop on board with the black number 15 under the bridge, taking you into the infield of the circuit, past the curb, through turn 1, and then firing up towards the keyhole. One of the few tracks that, as it modernized, it took out chicanes instead of adding them. I personally am much more in favor of this version than that old keyhole.
Yeah, the old keyhole obviously having a little bit of a bus stop chicane type entry there, and just kind of slowed down the rhythm of the track, frankly. But for the most part, as I said, a lot of this remained relatively unchanged. Really looks like Salehi starting to draw in, focusing back in, though, on our GT2 leaders. This is Jad Duncan. He's been able to pull a gap back to Mark Rondeau. It's holding at about 1.7 seconds now as they breeze their way through turn 1.
Yeah, and this is looking good for Rondeau. Even if he does finish in second, Freckleton's in last place right now, down in 6th. Remember, he's got a huge gap to make up to try and catch our points leader in the GT2s. So he needs to make the best of it. I'm sure he wants the win, but I'm sure he won't turn down the second either.
No, I'm sure he won't as well. These GT2 drivers are starting to spread themselves out a little bit, but I will say we've seen when traffic starts to come upon, it can get a little bit hairy. I would imagine here probably in about 5 laps or so that they should be catching up to the back of them, the GT1 leaders, that is. And speaking of those GT1 leaders, we look out the back of Travis Brown. Ryan Salehi's still in hot pursuit.
Yeah, this is a battle, and then we've got a battle for 5th brewing between Lotvala and Johnson. The closest ones that we've got on track, because the GT2s have all spread far apart from one another in these early stages. No pit stops in this race. It is a straight sprint to the checkered flag down into China Beach. Nothing doing there, so we jump over to Michael W. Johnson. He has been mildly quicker than Corey Lotvala these couple laps. In fact, last time through, I think he was quicker by about 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, that math works out to me, Joe. So Michael trying to close in here. Now, I think both of those cars did avoid damage on that opening lap coming together. A little bit of varying lines there from the two drivers. You see Corey just trying to carry as much momentum, maybe going a little bit wider. Michael W. Johnson trying to take the fastest line through the corner, the shortest line, rather. He's got that gap down under 0.7 of a second now, continually working it down over that tricky turn 9 and down through Thunder Valley. It does really look like Michael W. Johnson is on a charge here.
No traffic in front of them for quite some time. In fact, I'm trying to see if they've caught. Yeah, they have just caught Freckleton right now up at the front. So they're going to start experiencing some of this GT2 traffic, and that's going to be a bit of a headache in the second half of the lap.
Yeah, it most certainly is. There's a lot of parts on this track you do not want to be stuck behind. Really, from about turn 4 in China Beach all the way through turn 9, it's next to impossible. You get caught up behind in the carousel, it's going to be just as much of a pain. So they're going to have to be very strategic in where they decide to make these overtakes.
They got past Freckleton at the right time. Next one up is Robin in the 929. He's quite a ways up the road, it seems. So not sure why Freckles fell as far back as he did. Oh, and Frederick Chin must have had something happen because he's now in 6th. So Freckleton got by him. Oh, and we had a problem with Paul Newton and BJ Fulton for 3rd place. Both of them off the circuit just before Thunder Valley. You can see them returning. I have no idea what caused this. Well, there is one car off there mysteriously. I think that was Frederick Chin. So that was unrelated. This is coming up here soon.
All right, so there's BJ coming over, carries too much speed coming through turn 9. Oh, no. Unsighted there. That's one of the dangers of that corner. You cannot see over the crest. Watch here on board with Paul Newton. He just sees the smoke, tries to get out of the way the best that he can, and nowhere to go.
If BJ hadn't have pulled forward, I think he might have been able to get through that. But once again, drivers a little bit too eager to get going after a spin, it seems. So Fulton in the pits, and looks like Newton's able to keep going.
A little bit amazed by that, especially considering that the hood was off of that car. We'll have to keep an eye on some of the lap times here. Obviously, messed up from that last lap because of the damage, but I can't imagine that car is going to be going at a full chat at this point. Right here, though, looking at the back of Travis Brown as he's trying to work his way by Michael Robon. That's going to be a position there that Ryan Salehi's going to want to try to do. Joe, that's exactly what I was talking about, trying to use those slower GT2 cars as a pick.
Certainly helped him get very close, but then as he had to go by, he got slowed up too. While that was happening, Lotvala was under threat from Johnson, but Michael also unable to capitalize. They are also catching Newton. Now, let's see, this is his first full lap after his incident, and it's a 20.4. Lotvala with an 18.9 is on screen. Salehi takes yet another peek. He's got a fire lit under him now.
He certainly does, and he's going to try to tuck up into the draft, going down into turn 4 in the China Beach section. Is he going to poke his nose to the inside? Yes, he is. There he goes. He's going to have to try to be later on the brakes. That's an off-camera line there, and that's Travis Brown shutting the door. Very kindly, it must be said, but shutting the door nonetheless. A little bit of counter correction for Bayern as he makes his way over turn 5, but he is close up behind him. The two of them now have up the road. You can see there another one of those GT2 cars, so Bayern probably thinking this could be another opportunity. Big slide there, though, for the 15.
It's only a 30-minute race, but you can wear out those tires. He's got to be careful as Rondeau is in an awkward spot around the outside for both of them. Good heads up from Mark to stay out of the way.
And bad news for fans of Michael W. Johnson and Corey Lotvala. They had another coming together, this time going down into China Beach. The two of them just battling very, very closely. And Michael W. Johnson getting by. Excuse me, it actually wasn't Michael that had the problem. It was Corey Lotvala. Thank you.
Yeah, I just went back and checked myself. He outbraked himself and now falls to 6th once again. So Johnson finally gets one of the spots. I think we're going to look at the replay of the incident. Got to go back just there we go. We see the tail end of it as he makes a visit to China Beach. Forgot his shovel, so he immediately exits stage right.
Exit stage right, able to come back on, and that's actually going to put him in contest with Michael Ost, who's been able to get by him at the moment. But we're going to check back in on this battle for the lead, Joe, because it hasn't gone away yet.
Salehi still all over the back of the 300 machine. We're not even halfway through this race, and he's making them think about it.
Yeah, he certainly is, and this is part of the mental game that we like to talk about quite a bit here on GSRC. I think a little bit of what Bayern is doing. He's not out of control in a full attack mode here. He's not seeing red, he's not making overly aggressive moves, but he's just making sure that Travis knows he is in his rearview mirrors, and that kind of almost subliminal pressure can really cause that leading driver into an error.
Lost a little bit of time this last lap through. He was as close as 4/10, and now it's up to 8/10 behind him. Back from that, I can see Michael Johnson already reaching the back of Paul Newton. Here we hop on board with Paul, and that little orange car is unfortunately not got the pace after that incident. He'll use some traffic to hope that he can hold him off one more corner, and he does. But the cuties are not going to look as cute as he deals with the damage from his incident, and Johnson takes advantage.
Yeah, we're seeing about 118s for most of the leaders there in the GT1s, and Paul Newton running around in about the 120s, so about 2 seconds off the pace there for that tail machine. Michael W. Johnson making that move look easy.
Might be hard for him to make any positions from here unless Salehi and Brown have a coming together, because it's 20 seconds to get up to P2. You never know, though. This has seen quite a bit of drama very early on and has been flipped around a couple of times already. We return to P1 and P2, still about 8/10 of a second apart. Has Brown turned it up, or is Salehi dropped off?
Well, Joe, I think it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Salehi was about a 10th slower on that past lap. Yeah, there you can see it. It's a bit of an ebb and flow here as this goes back and forth between the two of them. So I think he'll still have some time to be able to pull this back in. They're coming up on Frederick Chin in a little while, although he's about 13 seconds up the road.
Yeah, thankfully it's not a whole lot of traffic out there today, and all 13 cars are still running on the circuit currently. Up to 9/10 of a second now. Did Salehi use it up too early in this race, or is his setup just not as good later on compared to what Travis Brown has found?
That could also be the case. You know, these Porsches, while they are a little bit heavier and they're not necessarily like the Lotus 79s that you and I cover on Sunday mornings, they do ride a little bit differently as the fuel begins to burn away. Now, the other thing that it may be is that Bayern may have just overused his tires a little bit. Now, remember on the iRacing service, they don't really necessarily pull back as much in terms of wear on the tires. You're not really going to run into that problem with these endurance cars. But what you can do is overheat the tires, and that can be a big problem. And so you've got to run a little bit slower for a couple of laps, get those temperatures down, and then you can go into attack mode again.
This has become our closest fight on the track now that Michael Johnson has gotten by Paul Newton. I have been half watching Robban and Momeyer because they've been getting close at times. As we watch from on the nose of Salehi. Boy, if the hills looked big before, now they look just mountainous.
Yeah, they really do. And there you can see just what it's like coming over that turn 9. Both drivers there, 1 and 2, very lucky to get by Frederick Chin. That's a good place to pass him. Next car up the road is going to be Jerry Freckleton. Rest assured, Bayern Salehi, he's going to have a relative meter on his screen, so he'll know when those lap cars will be coming up.
Been dealing with him well enough up to this point. Poor Jerry Freckleton still down in 5th, so he's going to lose a fair bit of points. It'll be a little bit less to Rondo, and he'll want that 171 and not really find some speed as he's dropped off by about 5 seconds to our leader, Duncan. In fact, there is Jerry on your screen now in the 57. He's used to picking up spots when drivers have problems. He's so consistent, but we haven't seen much of that today. And unfortunately, as he did have a few slower laps out there, it seems he may have ran into some issues of his own, but I can't tell if that was an off or just lap traffic.
Yeah, I'm not sure as well, Joe, but it looks like whatever reason that Bayern Salehi was starting to struggle with a little bit, he's been able to gain it back up. He's been able to consistently hold that gap under a... Whoa, is both cars having a big wiggle there coming into turn 9.
They are both pushing. Nobody is leaving anything on the table here. This championship means a lot to them, and you can tell into the carousel. Once again, we're down, getting into the last third of the race, and very strong on the binders for Salehi that time.
Yeah, very strong indeed. I think he is in full attack mode.
All right, here comes the likes of Freckleton, and they catch him at a very good spot, easily able to go by on the straight up towards the keyhole. And they get a huge break up to Robban, who is up next, which, oh, we missed it. Momeyer did get by, trying to see if that happened recently. Looks like that was actually a bit ago. So, Momeyer ahead of the 929 now.
Well, that's going to be good for his title hopes there. It's the first time we've seen him be able to finish ahead of his rival, Jerry Freckleton, in a couple of races. So maybe a little bit hope springing alive for that GT2 championship.
Watching from on board here with Robban. Oh, and it's something happened. Newton, yeah. Newton got swallowed up by Ost with his lack of pace down the backstretch. So Michael gets yet another one.
Just keeps moving on up the order. You've got to love that for him. But as we said here, back focusing on this lead. Bayern just trying to claw it in and not really getting the chance to.
Still, you have to think that Travis Brown has got to be just perfect out there, because if he slips up, Salehi's going to pounce. He's already showed himself a couple times. He hasn't been able to actually make the pass. He's been sticking with it here. And you can see little mistakes here and there from Salehi. Maybe that's what's costing him. You see, got a little bit of wheel spin coming off the turn down into China Beach. But if he stays within this 0.6 of a second, Salehi is certainly going to just jump at the chance.
For sure. And now they are going to be coming up to some more of those GT2 drivers, namely in the form of John Momeyer and Michael Robban. And remember, because that's a battle on track, that could make things a little bit more interesting for the two of them.
I think they got about a lap before they get to the back of them. So it's still going to be a little time there. I can report that Johnson has not gained time. In fact, he's lost time on these two. So I think that's evened out. And you're looking at Michael W. winding up just on the final step of the podium through turn one once again between Brown and Salehi. And something has gotten into the 15 because he's reeled him back in. It was at 0.8 of a second for so many laps. Now it's down to 0.3.
Yep, he's got the fire under him at this point. Not the jump he'd like to out of the keyhole, though, unfortunately. So he's going to have to wait a little bit here, see if he can get a better run, potentially going in through China Beach and Madness. Let's see what he's got.
Ooh, that's the closest we've seen him down into China Beach for some time. Oh, and he's going to pounce just as he gets distracted by the lap traffic off course. Robin threw a cover for Salehi, allowing him to try and jump through. That was one of the most clever passes. Oh, and he loses it immediately. Salehi, with one of the most brilliant moves I've seen in a while, immediately dumps it and falls way far behind. Now he's not going to be able to get back up for this win unless he gets a mistake out of Brown.
Oh, no. Absolutely heartbreaking there for Brian Salehi. We're going to take a look at this. That was a great move that he dove in on him. You saw that run going into it, the aggressiveness there with the lap car getting out of the way, and then just absolutely losing it on his own volition.
Lit it up. It looked like he touched the curb a little bit. That's all I can think of, because the car really came around quickly and not in a spot that I would expect it would be typically out of control.
No, I have to agree with you on that. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think he was trying to put the power down and the right rear tire just catching that curb wrong and sending him spinning.
That's got to be gutting. He was having such a great race up to that point. And looks like we got a pass for fifth as Latvala just went by Paul Newton. Two drivers that have not been having the best of days out here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, they have not. Their days sort of going from bad to worse. Corey just having that problem right off the top of the race. Newton gaining under speed there. I'm a little bit surprised. He's taking full advantage of the draft.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Maybe if he can hang on through the twisty bits, he can at least catch a little bit of pace for the remainder of the race. He actually can't lose any more spots because I just saw BJ Fulton pull off the track and he has retired, unfortunately. So, and yeah, he really is keeping up with Corey Latvala. Much better exit. I wonder if Corey's suffering from the tires, because it seems out of the corners is once again the thing looks a little loose over the crest of 11.
Yeah, it really, really does. So Corey may need to try to cool down those tires. As I've said, in these GT endurance cars, I don't really expect the tires to be completely worn. They're probably just a little overheated. But Joe, also looking at the front of Corey Latvala's machine, I think there may be a little bit of damage to the splitter there.
That's a good point. I hadn't even considered looking at that part of it. Latvala did make the contact nose to tail or close to it at the start of the race, and I wonder if that did it, and he's been suffering with that since the beginning. Yeah, just the tiniest bit, and that may be costing him some overall pace, perhaps understeering a little in the corners. As all this has been happening, Travis Brown continues to lead. DJ, he's been the class of the field. Do you want to talk us through a lap and what it takes to run around here?
We're going to do it here from Paul Newton as he tries to go around. There you see all the counter steer that he's got to have coming through turn 9. Now this is headed through Thunder Valley and up into the carousel. Very tricky here to get this line right. There are multiple lines you can really take into this final set of corners, but once you get out, you want to clip that inside curve right there, and here comes the flying lap across the line. Now down into turn 1. You can take this with just a little bit of a feather. Paul having to back off a little bit more because of the damage to that car. Let it run all the way out to the side. Take a quick breath here as you now line up into the keyhole. Very crucial to get this right. You really want to try to diamond the corner as much as possible. Take a decent amount of that exit curving and don't touch the grass. Now you get to breathe again here a little bit. Ready yourself for this right-handed kink and then get yourself over to the left-hand part of the track. Once you see that braking board, there you go, down onto the brakes. You can carry some decent amount of speed through there into the second gear corner. Now, this is where you've got to be careful on the throttle. You've got to be very, very careful not to apply it too early there through 5. Now, coming into the S's, into Madness. In and around there, it's relatively flat, but you crest over the hill again here. Bring it over to the right and then out to the left. Brake into a straight line and then be patient, just feathering the throttle on. You don't want to let it go too early, or as we've said, that rear wheels will start to spin. Now we go again here into the carousel, over to the left. Get it right, brake in a straight line, use a little bit of trail braking to turn the car around, let it keep going, and then full power as we get back out onto the main straight.
And that was with Paul Newton still running in 5th place. Corey Lockwood, the only one trying to chase him down currently as he's stuck behind Momeyer now. We're going to check out a replay of Latvia's incident.
All right, so this is Corey as he comes up and around. He spins it in the carousel. I think he caught a little bit of that grass. Yeah, it's a good job actually there to catch it. Normally, if you get those right tires into the grass, that'll send you around. That is good news for Paul Newton as it's bumped his way up into 5th.
Absolutely. He'll take any of the good news he can get. This is going to be tight on laps, by the way. Actually, no, it will not be tight on laps. I just realized it was 2:20 as we cross. So next time by will be the white flag. This is our GT2 leader, Jad Duncan, who also crosses and also still has 2 to go. He's not going to get lapped by Brown another time. Duncan, well, I'm sure he's happy to have a quiet race and that we're not talking about him because nothing's really been bothering him. Rondeau held close for the first couple laps and since then just has been dropping. And this will give us a good idea of just how different it is, especially around the corners between these two classes of cars, DJ.
Yeah, and especially watch it here through China Beach. You'll see just how early he's got to brake as that's Michael W. Johnson breezing on by your GT2 leader. Yeah, watch it here. Way earlier onto the brakes does Jad Duncan go. You see how he's got to clobber a little bit more of the curb. He's got to be a lot more sensitive with the throttle, not get as much power down. And the reason for that is that these GT2 cars, well, they're a GT4 spec car, and they don't have a whole lot of downforce on them. So those other Porsches out there, they're able to use that aerodynamic grip. Whoa, that's a little bit offline there for Jad, but he makes it work.
The white flag is out for Travis Brown. One more lap to go. This drive deserves a pat on the back. He survived immense pressure and only lost the lead for, what, about 100 feet? And then it went right back to him, and he cruised away. Salehi's got it within about 7.5 seconds of him, so he's rebounded somewhat. I suspect the 300 car maybe eased up a little bit after that spin.
Yeah, I would have to imagine so. I think he definitely pulled back a little bit, recognizing that he didn't have to push nearly as hard.
So the Castro liveried car through madness one last time and up to the leap that takes you into Thunder Valley. It's been a clean race for Travis Brown, just spick and span. So just 2 more corners left to go for that number 300 as our points leader is going to extend that gap. Travis Brown exits the carousel and takes the win in round 19 at Mid-Ohio for the Porsche Owners Club.
A very commanding lead here for Travis Brown. A great drive and an equally impressive drive from Jad Duncan in those GT2 machines as he makes his way over turn 9 for one last time.
So Duncan is going to catch up instead to Freckleton, who is down in 5th, but I'm not sure if Jad will be able to compete for the championship because he did come in part way. Regardless, he's stealing valuable points from others, especially today as he wins the GT2 class here in Ohio. Rest of them trickle across the line, and this has certainly been an exciting one. And some will want to remember them, some will not. I think we got one last battle between Roban and Momeyer. Somehow Michael's caught up after he had his off earlier on. This is for actually the podium position in the GT2s, but Momeyer will fend him off. And the 6 will finish on the bottom step. So that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We just watched round 19 of the Porsche Owners Club, and it was Travis Brown who took the victory this time. Withstood a lot of oncoming pressure from Bayan Salehi and made him crack instead. Bayan still managed to finish in second. With Michael Johnson, he got taken out early on. He wasn't going to let that stop him, and he finished in third as Michael Ost finished P4, as Paul Newton finished fifth. Corey Lotfuller was the last to see the checkered flag in the GT1s. He took sixth.
In that GT2 category, Jad Duncan, with a commanding flag-to-flag performance out there, was able to take home the top step, followed by Mark Rondeau and John Momeyer. Michael Roban came home fourth, and your championship leader, Jerry Freckleton, could only manage fifth out here today. Momeyer finally able to cut in a little bit on his lead. Frederick Chin came home in sixth. And just to point out how massive that victory was for Jad Duncan, the margin of victory, 14.5 seconds.
Just a huge gap for him. He had that under control. And we've got Travis Brown ready to talk to us, who at least had it under control at the end of the race. But Travis, Bayan looked like he was trying to make you sweat for the first half.
Oh my gosh, I'm drenched. He was putting so much pressure on the whole race. I had no margin for error. That was an awesome race.
And as we see on the replay, you even banged doors in the very first corner. Did that surprise you that he was that aggressive at the beginning?
It did, but we were just talking about it right after the race on what happened. But evidently, I like the trail brake a little more, and he was coasting it through fifth. And so he was turning in earlier than me, whereas I was braking just a little later, trail braking, and I was popping it down into fourth gear to help the car rotate. So just both of us taking our natural lines had a slightly different turn in. But I was surprised that we made contact. Yeah, because I thought I was being pretty conservative to leave plenty of space, but it makes sense talking it through.
Glad to see that you were able to work that out. Now, talk me through what's going through your brain, though, as late in the race, he suddenly makes a dive. I assume you were distracted by the lap traffic, and gets by and then gives it right back. What is your thought process throughout that?
I was totally caught off guard. You're right on. I was looking at the GT4s and the incident. The guys on Discord were cussing up a storm. And I was like, oh, don't come back on track. I was paying way more attention to them than I should have. And next thing I knew, Bayern had, put it around the outside and had the inside on that turn. So I had to leave him space, and it was just a great move on his part. I knew he was chilling, waiting for the right moment, and he definitely picked the perfect one. But then, yeah, like you said, I had to concede, and I thought, all right, now I get to be the aggressor. But right away, he was, I think, struggling with that turn all race. So whenever he got there and just had a slightly different line to it, it caused him to lose it. But yeah, I was completely caught off guard.
Well, Latvala finishes way down in 6th. Michael could only manage 3rd. You extend your points lead by a nice margin today. Is there anybody you want to thank for such a good race?
Oh, Bayern for sure. I mean, that was epic fun.
I love that. I love the camaraderie in this league. And that was Travis Brown, our winner in the GT1s. As DJ is caught up with Jad Duncan, who took victory in the, got Bayern Salehi, I suppose, here for 2nd place.
Well, Bayern, that looked like an absolutely heart-stopping battle through the majority of that race between you and Travis Brown. But I came a little bit to tears there at the end. Talk me through that move going into China Beach.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like Lando from yesterday. But yeah, no, that nevertheless, that was a really fun race. Yeah, I mean, I just kept it under a second, for 2/3 of the race, and I was having issues at that corner, and I stuck it, and we were both distracted from those GT4s going off, and yeah, I just lost my train of thought for a split second and paid the price. But luckily, me and him pushed each other and made a huge gap, and still managed to get 2nd, and yeah, it was super fun.
Well, I wanted to ask you, as we were watching this go on, it looked like you were kind of being a little bit more conservative there at points. Were you kind of angling on using some of the slower GT2 cars as a pick, or was it a little bit more of a situation where you were just waiting for the right opportunity to come across if it came across anyway?
I mean, yeah, definitely both of those. I mean, typically at the tracks where I'm not most confident, aka Mid-Ohio, I don't really like leading because I'm just more prone to mistake, and I know Travis is an amazing driver, and I didn't have the chance to practice with him the past couple weeks, but I got that practice in during the race, and just was able to find a rhythm, and just I was just sitting back and waiting for the mistake, or for the GT4 Clubsport to help me make the move.
Gotcha. Well, we obviously head to a little bit of a longer circuit next time out, headed to Mount Panorama. What do you think is going to go down there?
Oh boy. Yeah, definitely have my homework cut out for me. Don't have much track time there, but huge fan of it as a spectator. But yeah, hopefully it's another fun, close one like this.
Well, we can only hope the same for you, Bayern. Anybody you'd like to thank for this 2nd place here today?
I'd just like to thank my family watching back in San Diego, and Team Salehi Racing and Sport Utility Motorcars.
Well, thank you very much, Bayern. That was your 2nd place finisher, Bayern Salehi. And now, Joe Peak, I believe you have caught up with your 3rd place driver in that GT1 category, Mr. Michael W. Johnson.
Yeah, Michael, what a start, and then what a race. Let's start at the beginning. You had a little bit of an issue there through the first corner. Have you been able to talk to Corey, or is there any bad blood after that?
No bad blood. He apologized right after it happened, and then we had a fun time racing. I think he was surprised that I was catching him so quickly. What most people didn't realize is I did the majority of my qualifying on race fuel. So I was able to run 17.5s in my race, And unfortunately, the damage that came out of that kind of messed up my race. I think I should have probably had something for both Bayan and Travis, but hey, when you make it to the podium from last last plus, it's not a bad day. And like I said, no hard feelings against Corey. It was just bad situation he was stuck in, and really nothing he could have done there.
I assume with your IMSA experience, you've had some times around this circuit before. Did you know any tricks that really helped you be fast around here? I'm guessing you guys probably caught, I think it was lap 8 when I tricked Corey into making a day of it at China Beach. And then I think lap 11, I went around Paul to get into 3rd place. So that's a really good trick there that people, I was certain to not share during practice. So when we were practicing, I would brake very differently through there, because I know everybody watches everybody, and I'm like, yep, not letting that one happen. And then also on carousel, just a different line through carousel. I think you probably caught where that was where I really caught up to Corey a lot in that pursuit, and would sit right up on his bumper, and then I'd back off a little bit because the wing wash off these cars is just monstrous. So I didn't want to get caught in bad air going through turn 1, but I knew that I could hold, like going into turn 2, if I got around there, I could trail brake into there pretty well and just get right up under his wing and follow him down the straight. Well, regardless, we're impressed with your recovery back up to the podium as well. Anybody you want to thank for that one?
Well, obviously sponsors, Fix Vodka, Fix Alkaline Vodka, great sponsor. Also Truffle Shuffle. Truffle Shuffle is a fantastic cooking option out there. They send out beautiful packages, and then they do an online cooking thing, and just absolutely wonderful people. Obviously GSRC, because I are one sometimes, and of course the POC. I really appreciate their letting me come in and play with them.
Well, congrats on that 3rd. That was Michael W. Johnson, who is tempting our director into imbibing a little bit, as we now finally go to Jad Duncan. DJ's caught up with our winner in the GT2s.
Well, Jad, it looked like a quiet race out there for you, a flag-to-flag victory. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that did feel good, especially after 2 weeks ago at Long Beach, when I got a nice easy lead and put it into the wall all by myself. So I was the whole 21 laps, and don't do anything dumb. Don't do anything dumb. And it worked out.
Welcome to my mantra anytime I step behind the wheel of a car. Obviously, were you concerned at any point there? It looked like, Rondeau was trying to close in on you a little bit there at the beginning of the race, but you were just kind of able to eke away. Were you pushing quite a bit, or was it just running the laps that you could throughout the entire time?
After seeing qualifying, where I think I had him by almost a half second, I knew if I didn't do anything too dumb, I could just run conservative laps, and he wouldn't really be able to pass me. Even if he could get a little bit closer, I figured in the long run I could just pull a couple of tenths each lap by driving a nice, smooth race and not make any mistakes, and that's what I actually did. So it worked out well, but he kept me honest, because he never dropped too far back until the very end. He was always right there. If I went off, he would have passed me.
Well, speaking of not making dumb mistakes, I know the track that I tend to do that quite possibly the most on is the one you guys are headed to next, Mount Panorama. Little bit more elevation change than around here, but how do you see that one going for you, my friend?
I did one lap 5 minutes before qualifying for this race just to see what it was like there. That track's insane. It's narrow and crazy downhill turning and high speed. That is going to be an adventure. I have no idea how that's going to be, because it's something I've never driven anything like that before. Well, any tips?
I was going to ask you for some. I've got absolutely none at all. Yeah, Joe's right. Pray as you come over Skyline. That's all you can do. But Jad, anybody you want to thank for this win here tonight?
I just want to thank POC and everyone for putting this on. It's a lot of fun, and you guys, you do a great job. You make it really fun to go through all this and add realism to the sim racing. I appreciate it.
Well, it's our absolute pleasure to bring it to you. That was Jad Duncan, your winner here in the GT2 category. And now, Joe, I believe you have caught up with our second place finisher, Mark Rondeau.
Yeah, who came into this, I believe, 4th in points. So this second place will certainly help him there, especially after the win last week. Mark, you're right on the cusp of qualifying for the championship by having enough rounds on your tally. Are you going to be able to make enough of the last 4?
Oh yeah, I'll make the rest of the events. I missed 5 already, and I should be able to make the rest of them. So we'll see how everything plays out. I think Jerry's so far ahead, no one can catch him. And John's got a pretty good lead on me as well.
Jerry didn't have the greatest day today, though. You, however, looked very consistent. It was unfortunate you weren't quite as quick as Jad. Were you pretty settled into that second place? Did you feel like this is the most you could do?
I thought that was my best opportunity. I could have pushed harder, but as you know, Mid-Ohio will bite you. And Jad had the pace. He had the pace in qualifying and in practice. And I was, from the start, I was just going to be happy with second, unless he made a mistake. So I just ran my race. I didn't worry about catching him. I just paid attention to where everyone else was. Tried to stay out of the RSR's way, which I did for the most part, except for a little issue between Newton and Lavilla there at the end of the race. I kind of got taken off my line and almost took Corey out. Well, almost got taken out by Corey. Corey did took himself out.
Sometimes that happens. Regardless, yet another podium that you've racked up. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to that helped make that happen?
Just all the guys in POC, especially the GT4 drivers. We're all helping each other. It's a great racing community in iRacing and in real life. And then my family and you guys for broadcasting this and doing such a great job.
Well, thank you very much. That was Mark Rondeau, second in the GT2s. One last one. We've got DJ ready to talk to Momeyer, who finished 3rd today.
Do indeed, John. It's good to see you up here in 3rd place. First and foremost, how was it out there today?
Oh, that was an interesting race. I did not get but the practice time before the race this week to even get on the track. So I was, I guess, a little impressed with myself posting a 3rd qualifying time. I don't know how that was happening.
I've run those races. I know how that feels. But I have to ask you, I mean, we've talked a lot about trying to close down that gap between Jerry Freckleton and you for the first place in the championship. Jerry hasn't had the best of luck here recently. I know it's a bit of a tall order, but are you thinking about that first place in the championship?
No, I'm just thinking about staying on the track. As you can see, there's a couple guys out there. Jad, Mark, those guys ran way faster than me. I made a mistake early in the race that they got away from me where I wasn't able to see them. And you can see that rabbit. You might be able to stay with them a little, but I just didn't have the speed for him. But it will be nice to come in ahead of Jerry a few more times, but he's a great driver, and he just got caught up in a little mess, it seemed like, today.
Well, so what is your strategy then going forward for the rest of the season? Obviously, we go to Mount Panorama as well as a couple of other big tracks. I mean, are you just trying to focus in on podium? Are you thinking a win can be on the cards? What are you doing to prepare for these last couple of rounds?
Every event is just try to be consistent, even if I'm slower, and try to stay on the track the whole time. That was the key today. Those 2 guys in front, again, stayed on the track the whole time. When we're practicing qualifying, it doesn't always happen that way, and 8 seconds goes real quick when you're going backwards. So just stay on the track. That's my goal. And away from the walls, apparently, next week when we go to the mountain.
Yeah, good luck. I was talking to Jad that that track and I don't get along. But anybody you'd like to thank for this 3rd place here today, John?
Absolutely. Got to thank my family, my wife, Joy. Precision Motion takes care of the car at the track. We're heading to Spring Mountain next week, so we'll see all the POC out of Spring Mountain in Pahrump, Nevada next week. Got to thank you guys for commentating. It's always fun to go back and watch. And, of course, all the volunteers at POC that make this all happen for us.
Well, it is our absolute pleasure, John. And folks, that was John Momeyer, your 3rd place finisher here today. Joe?
And that's going to wrap us up with a big thank you to the sponsors that help make this possible for us as well, which include Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com, as well as Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank. Be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net, as well as Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to OctavioTequila.com and purchase today. And Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. A thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media that we've listed. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC, and there's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe while you're down there so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because in 2 weeks' time, it's off to Australia from Mount Panorama, Monday, October 11th at 11 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.